Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're here at the Faithless Forum. Thomas Westbrook invited us down here, and you guys played a significant role in making all this happen. I hope more people show up next year and
Definitely.
get involved. Get involved in a community of people who will love you for who you are, no matter what, for whatever you think, to try and bring rational thought, bring critical thinking skills. We had a blast. So
Absolutely, and show that you can be good without God, and show that there's not this barrier to entry to being a content creator that you would think. You just start, and on top of that, your voice is important. You are adding to the discourse, you're adding to the discussion, and we are not yet at a point where people are turning off their TV saying there's too much atheist content. So come and join us.
Yeah. So who are you, and what do you do on YouTube?
Sure. My name's Eric Murphy, and I am a host of a show called Skeptic Generation. Skeptic Generation is a show that it's a live call-in show every Sunday at 11:30 a.m. Central. People call in to talk about what they believe and why. It's normally about religion, but we've gone off and, you get your flat earthers and all of that, and we do our best to meet people where they are, hold the line and say, why do you believe that? And demand that you should have good evidence for the things that you believe. You should demand that in your life, and that you can have this conversation in an empathetic, open way that can create connections and help bridge the gap between a lot of these tough barriers that we find ourselves in today. There are a lot of atheist call-in shows. I actually started one in the past. It was called Talk Heathen. I've done podcasts. I've done various YouTube channels. And now I'm here, and I get to do a show with my fiance, Bianca, and it's a blast. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have a passion for humans, I can tell. You really empathize in your show. I'm not just saying this. I highly recommend everyone watching to go and check out your channel, because you take your time trying to break down and explain why you think the way you do, helping the call-in, the person calling. You can usually tell that they're struggling with something or they're wanting to challenge you.
Yeah.
And you're like asking for it. So I want everybody to do that. But let me ask you this. Your passion, I can tell, is humans. What would you say is your number one goal with the show? What would be your passion in that respect?
So I think that people want to have these conversations, and they're difficult and they can be dangerous. We're coming into the holidays, and when you're sitting at the table with a family member who thinks very different things from you, you wish that you could have this conversation. You wish that you could maybe know a little bit more about, hear it had out and not lose contact with Uncle Joe, And so the purpose of my show is you can actually see that conversation had out. And people ask how I'm as patient as I am. It's because the platform is so you can see the conversation had, and hopefully pick up a couple of things along the way and recognize that you're still talking to another person, and that we have work to do. It's not about winning. It's about understanding where the other person is and going from there. And oh my gosh, just a little bit of affirmation goes such a long way. There is somebody who will just call and they'll just be, and well, I'm a communicator and I'm stammering.
No, I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Like even the people who are antagonists, you're giving them affirmation sometimes. You go, you know what, that's a good point. And even saying that makes them feel like, this guy's not against me.
No, he wants to understand you. And if you say, if you could just give that, you know what, I understand where you're coming from. Let me repeat this back to you. Is that right? Just being heard can dramatically increase your success rate in having productive conversations that are difficult.
Wow. So that's a philosophy we all should use.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you this. As far as the number one story, if you can, or person that you remember that left, that because of your conversations, can you recall a certain person that you've like worked on and eventually they finally were like, okay, I see the light?
There are a number of them. I've been doing this since 2017. And in the last 4 years, there are content creators. There are people who are now active in the movement who started off as being on the other side of things, listening in, because that's the other benefit, is it's a whole lot easier to hear a challenge to your beliefs if you're not the one being challenged. You're not so ready to dive in and defend when you're watching it ahead. And maybe you'll hear something and go, well, that's not true. I'm gonna look into that. Look into it. Look into it. And they look into it and they reach out. I've had a lot. And the funny thing is, I've actually made friends with a good number of apologists as well. And that's fun too. You know, we're just nerds, just on the opposite sides of things. So, gosh, what are some?
Can you remember one, for example, that was just really dramatic and then you could see that they came around?
Well, most of the time when they reach out and they've come around, they've already kind of called in to say, hey, you know, thank you. And it's not so much. I think the more meaningful ones are people who maybe didn't believe, but felt like they were alone. I mean, so many people kind of invent non-belief on their own, and it is a lonely experience. And giving people the opportunity to go, you know what, that's me. This person, I'm not by myself. You know, I can give you tons and tons of stories of people who have lost family members and found a new family in the community that they got to create. That just makes me excited. I think that when it comes to deconversion, there are lots of people who've reached out, but I'm skeptical.
Yeah.
I don't want people to deconvert necessarily.
Right.
I want people to have good reasons for what they believe. And if they're applying skepticism, if they are reaching into that toolbox to pull out the right tool for the job, cool. That's what I want.
Yeah.
And it tends to lead towards, you know, leaving the faith. But if you can just be a little bit more rational in your day-to-day life and apply that, I'm stoked.
Yeah, it's a process.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've actually had people mention this to some of the scholars I've interviewed who are atheists. And they said, Bob, I'm convinced. For example, one of the guys' names is Dr. Price. Mm-hmm. He says, I'm convinced, you know, that this is all bunk. I don't believe anymore. You know, he was like, oh, hold on, man.
Yeah.
Chill. Whoa. Let's take this slow. Don't throw things away. First of all, take your time, rationalize your way. It's like mourning a death, because if you don't go through that process, something will happen. You can end up in a serious depression.
You know, it's funny. There's an entire history of it, and we have cataloged it for thousands of years. I mean, geez, the Greek philosophers called it aporia, right? When Socrates was asking questions and saying, why do we view the world that we do? Why do we have the traditions that we do? And you keep acting like a 3-year-old. Why is it? You know, and you get all the way to the bottom, and the bottom is, I don't know. I don't know why we do that, but hopefully it'll help us get rid of bad reasons for doing things. But when you get to that I don't know point, it is uncomfortable, and it's called aporia. And later on, French philosophers, when they realized that there's not this you know, established groundwork for morality and ethics, but it's something that we as a society create together. They called it anomie, you know, and we find ourselves in these places, right? You don't have something to replace it with, but it's not just replacing it. It's understanding that your epistemology, the process of understanding why you believe the things that you do, is influenced by other things like axiology. The axioms upon which you decide why should I, you know, value this over that. And if you don't have an axiom of having good reason to believe the things that you believe, which I think is an axiom we should all strive for, and you change your mind in an instant, you're going to change your mind again. And that leaves you open to being taken advantage of. And I don't want that. I'd rather you believe and take your time and have good reasons for your choices than somebody who makes a decision like that right away.
Wow. So one more question.
Yeah.
Someone's struggling right now and they're watching this. And I mean, I could get into really pouring out emotions to give you that, but you know what I'm talking about. And they're listening to you speak and they don't know what to do. They're afraid. What would you, I mean, obviously the circumstance may matter in terms of what you might recommend, but what would you say to that person who's starting to doubt and realizing that the worldview they had was not factually true, but they're afraid, and you're giving them that little voice of love?
Yeah, I've got a couple of things. Number one, you're not alone. You're not inventing this by yourself, and it's okay. You can take as long as you need, and that is okay too. There are places to reach out if you're in the United States. I recommend that you look up Recovering from Religion, the Recovering from Religion Foundation. It was founded by a gentleman named Dr. Darrell Ray. Check out his books, awesome guy. It is a peer network of people who are just there to listen. And they're not gonna try and deconvert you or convert you, but just be there to listen. And if you have the time, please consider volunteering. They'll train you and they'll take whatever availability you have. They need more people. On top of that, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, you know, it's scary, the idea that we're not gonna go to a heaven. It's scary, the idea that there's not a grand plan for us. But that means that we get to create our own purpose. And that's beautiful. That means that that relationship that you're so hurt over, it wasn't the one and you're never gonna have another opportunity. You have those opportunities to grow and build your life the way you want to, and that's important. Just take your time and reach out, know that you're not alone. If I'm not doing it for you, I hope that we're creating a community of people who you can find somebody that you resonate with and that you can follow along the way. But we're glad you're here, wherever you're at.
Thank you.
Thank you.